You know, folks, nothing screams more American than a supercharged Cadillac Escalade, which after many, many years of the Cadillac Escalade, we finally got it with the Escalade V. This is the loudest, the most vulgar, the most excessive, brash, ridiculous vehicle I've ever featured on my channel or ever seen with my own two eyes. It's absolutely ridiculous. And controversially, I might add, I think it's the modern take on the original Hummer H2 that was based on the GMT 800 platform. Here's what I mean. The Hummer H2 was big and ridiculous. So is the Escalade V. The Hummer H2 was horribly inefficient with fuel and just guzzled gas like there's no tomorrow. Escalade V. The Hummer H2 was a way for people to show off their money and to look ballin'. Escalade V. But I think the Escalade V is a much better take on that Hummer H2 formula. Yes, it's ridiculous. Yes, it's vulgar, but it's also very luxurious and comfortable and has beautiful materials inside and out to make you feel like you've stepped into a luxury hotel, not an actual car, especially a car from General Motors. I think the Escalade V is ridiculous. I think everyone thinks the Escalade V is ridiculous, and in 30 years time, we're definitely going to be looking back at this car with electric self-driving pods that have no personality or features to talk about other than they get you to work on time. We're going to be looking back on the Escalade V thinking, how did that happen? Enjoy cars like this while it lasts, because I don't think they're going to be around for too much longer. Also, if you want to go for the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there is an electric Escalade now called the Escalade IQ. And I can't imagine any people owning these Escalade Vs with the supercharged 6.2 liter V8 would think anything of that electric version. Yes, it is no secret that the Escalade V is one of the most ridiculous cars to come out of this hemisphere since the Dodge Challenger Hellcat. Every time an American company releases a supercharged V8 version of anything, it revitalizes my patriotism inside. You know, I get upset about how the fact that this country's so divided. Every single election and particularly the debates are just, and some of the people, and there's a lot about America right now, a lot of problems, not just with America, but with the world. In this case, there's a lot of problems with America that will make you pretty bummed out. And then America drops one of these and you think, yes, I think things are gonna be all right. I'll get bummed out about America, I'll get bummed out about American cars, you know, the Mustang Mach-E is just, ugh. And then Cadillac says, it's okay. It gives you a nice comforting back pat and it says everything's gonna be okay. And then it reveals something like this, which gets such a low number in terms of gas mileage that it's probably only 1 digit. And it is the loudest production car ever. And I'm not just saying that. And I know a lot of the reviewers have said stuff about how loud this car is. It's loud, okay? My first impression upon starting this car was, this is not legal. Like, how is this legal, especially in California? How did they convince California to sell these things there? It's ridiculous. It starts up and it sounds like a straight piped Mustang. I'm not even exaggerating that. It's insane. And it is impossible. I don't care what you think about cars. I don't care what you think about the environment, all this other stuff. It is impossible to get in this car, hit that button, and not laugh like a 5-year-old when you hear it crack over and start. It's just, it's ridiculous. It awakens my inner 5-year-old and it makes me so happy. That's what this car is it's pure happiness on 4 wheels. And it also weighs something like well over 6,000 pounds. So that's a thing. It's just insane. Okay, let's talk through a tour of this Escalade on practicality. So you're looking at the back of this car and you see the V logo and you think, yes, I definitely overpaid for this car, but that's fine because it's supercharged V8 glory. And you look and you see, well, where's the button? It's the Cadillac logo. And an electric tailgate opens to reveal that you have quite a small cargo area because it is a 3-row SUV indeed. But if you want more room and even more ridiculousness, you can get an Escalade V in the ESV long wheelbase version, which has more room behind the 3rd row of seats. Back there isn't much to note. There is a floor mat that says Cadillac on it, which is nice and cool. And on the side, you have buttons to release the backrest so you can fold them down and put longer stuff in. Also, they will fold back up electrically, which is very nice. And there's another set of buttons to lower the air suspension back here to make loading stuff in a little bit easier. And that's good. But honestly, who's watching this video to hear me talk about boring stuff like practicality? I mean, the whole point of this car is that supercharged V8, so let's move this along. One thing to note is that this, again, has 3 rows of seats, so we have to test out back there first. First thing you notice when you open the door is the electronic running board very luxuriously slides out. So if you're shorter, you can get in a lot easier. To fold this seat forward, there is a latch here, has a picture of the seat folded, and then ×2, which means I pull it once, nothing happens. I pull it twice, nothing happens. Okay, that was the once, the one pull. And that's the other pull. So it'll fold back up against the front seat, which is nice. But if you have a baby seat, then that'll be a bit annoying. Let's shut this door. And another thing to note that's surprising to me is that this Escalade is a pure luxury vehicle. So it comes with soft closed doors, my favorite luxury feature. Actually, that's not true. My favorite luxury feature is massaging seats. Let's fold that down. Then fold it back up. Whew. Bit of a workout for me and my big, strong arms. I'm not sure any 5-year-old that gets back here will be able to do that very easily. I've got enough leg room, but this seat is moved quite far forward. So if I was sitting up in front of myself right now, then I wouldn't have as much leg room. So I look around, there's a USB-C outlet there and a tiny cup holder and this beautiful, I thought it was going to be Alcantara headlining, but now that I'm touching it, it feels much cheaper than that. Honestly, the seats are quite flat and I don't think they'll be very comfortable for long journeys. Where it really is at is in front, so let's do that. I'm gonna move this seat back a little bit, not to compromise too much legroom back there, because this is a thorough review and I am a professional automotive journalist. That was a joke. Let's get ourselves in here. I have no legroom. Okay, I'm moving the seat all the way back, which means, oh, there is still legroom for the back. So move this seat all the way back, soft close door once again. I sit myself back here, and what I'm noticing is that even though this seat is all the way back, my knees are actually touching the driver's seat in front of me. That's because this seat is moved pretty much all the way back because I am a tall person. So if you're putting your kids back here, they'll be fine. And what lucky kids they'll be, you know, getting to ride to school in the loudest dad car ever made from the factory. I wouldn't say these seats are super comfortable, to be honest. I would like them to be a little bit softer and more pillowy, you know, knowing it's a Cadillac. They're fine. In terms of materials, I mean, nothing feels amazingly nice. Nothing feels super cheap, but nothing feels like insanely luxurious, high quality. Back here, you can find cheap plastic pretty easily. I mean, it's a General Motors product, so you can't expect perfection, can you? Yeah, I can find cheap plastic really easily, which for a car that's this expensive, like well over $150,000, it's hard to make excuses for interior plastics back here. It really is. Right in front of me, I have a prominent TV display which shows Hulu, YouTube Kids, and there are also 2 options for HDMI. You can plug in headphones, you can do some stuff with settings, and that's really awesome. I imagine kids back here will be very happy to be watching Fortnite videos or whatever on this TV. And you have 2 HDMI ports down there for plugging in external devices, laptops, consoles, things like that. That will work perfectly back here. And 2 cup holders underneath this tray. Also, you have rear climate with heated rear seats back here. And down there, 2 USB-C outlets. Again, the HDMI ports, and fold open this cover and there is a household style outlet here. So you can actually bring along your PlayStation 5 or whatever, plug it in there, plug it into HDMI, and you can play video games in the back of this car, which is so cool. And my inner 8-year-old is getting very jealous right now towards the actual 8-year-olds that will be sitting back here. So yeah, one thing I am noticing is that there is no sun blind back here. There's not a manual one, there's an electronic one, there's no sun blind. I'm sure it's an option, but it really should be on every one of them. And to be honest, it should be an electric one that you press a button and it folds up, like the BMW X7 has that. A cheaper car, the X7 is actually much cheaper than an Escalade V, which is amazing to me. It really should have something like that standard back here, which is a bit of a disappointment. But you've got TV, baby. I mean, TV, Hulu, YouTube, and you can play whatever console, whatever connects to HDMI, you can play on back here, and that's pretty sweet. Climbing into the front seat of the Escalade V, and we can see up here it's obviously big and wide and open and tall, but they did a pretty good job distinguishing this from the other General Motors products that ride on this platform. There are a lot. So I look in front of me and I see a beautiful Cadillac steering wheel that's leather trimmed, even leather on the airbag cover. The V logo is imprinted into the bottom spoke, and it also has some wood trim around it. It's a very beautiful steering wheel, and they made it look nice and luxurious. And there are plenty of controls to mess with. On the right, you have volume and media controls. On the left, you have cruise control, which is also auto steer with General Motors Super Cruise, which is on this car, which is a very, very good auto self-driving system. I've heard, I've never tried it, but I have heard that it is very good. So you have that, and it's also a heated steering wheel, which is great. And the materials up here, again, same as in the back, where nothing feels amazing, but nothing feels cheap. It's okay. I look forward and I see a full digital gauge cluster, which has a central tachometer. To get this screen to light up, I have to start it. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Oh yeah. Okay. So also on the very left of this digital gauge cluster, you have another digital gauge that shows you your trip, and it's also settings for your heads-up display. It's a touch screen too, I just found out. Yeah, so I can go into this hidden screen on the very left, and I can mess with things like turn on the night vision camera, I can turn on the augmented reality, and I can turn on the full screen gauge cluster map. So this is where I can actually change up the gauge cluster to show various different things. And if, again, you like the whole full screen map thing, if you like an AR camera, then that's available to you, and it's here in the Escalade V. So in terms of this digital gauge cluster layout, you definitely get what you pay for. Moving into the infotainment, there isn't much to talk about with it. It is pretty nice and easy to understand and responds to your touch really fast. And of course, knowing General Motors, it does have OnStar services. What good General Motors vehicle doesn't have OnStar in it? So not only is OnStar right there, the button is also right up in the ceiling just above the rearview mirror, just like your uncle's Chevrolet Trailblazer. OnStar is in the $150,000 plus Escalade V right there. I'm not going to go into infotainment for two reasons. One, it's boring and I find it boring. I'd rather drive the car. And two, the 2025 Cadillac Escalade and Escalade V were just revealed and announced, and they have a fully updated dashboard where it's entirely a screen. And I'm not making that up. The entire dashboard of that car is a screen. It's an OLED display that stretches from here all the way to the passenger side. The passenger can do stuff, watch TV on their own or whatever, and yeah, it's ridiculous. It's definitely an upgrade over what you have here. If big screens are your thing, they're not for me. Moving down from that, you have some manual buttons for your climate controls, which is very nice to see. It's also very easy to understand, being buttons. Nice to have regular climate right there instead of burying it into a submenu, so I like that. And then moving back from that, I have a traditional shifter coming out of the center console. In a car like this, I kind of want it to have a big old column-mounted automatic transmission selector so I can pull it into gear and then go tow some stuff. This has a more conventional electronic shifter that's supposed to tailor to the luxury car crowd a little bit more. And I can understand not having a column-mounted shifter in this car. It doesn't feel that luxurious using it. Or the Chevrolet Tahoe uses these hideous buttons and switches to shift gear, which is the worst thing ever in the history of forever. So I will take this over buttons and switches, definitely, for sure. Moving forward from the gear selector, though, you have the V button, which is your configurable V drive mode, I believe. So you press that and you go into V mode. So that's when you know you're going to get all serious, when you're taking this thing on the racetrack and autocross. Oh wait, nobody's going to do that. But it's nice that this is available to you. Also up here, speaking on comfort, this is how comfortable I would want the seats in the back to be. It's nice because the seats are a little bit softer, but still decently supportive. And you have speakers put into the headrest, which is cool. And that's speaking on the whole. Those back seats are designed to look sort of like the front seats, but they don't have as many features put into them as the front seats, which I would like to see, which is unfortunate. Yeah, and up there I can actually fold down the third row of seats just fine, and my sunroof controls are there. So yeah, let's move this along and look at the beast that lies under the hood. This is where the Escalade V makes itself special and different from the other Escalades. Let's look at who we have to thank for this car. Anthony, it's so big I can't get to it. Anthony Terry. It's so big that one, I had to really stretch over the car to actually read the signature. And two, my tripod is in its very tallest setting and still isn't quite enough. So underneath the hood here, we have the standard Escalade 6.2 liter V8 pushrod engine that has been fitted with a supercharger to develop 682 horsepower and 653 pound-feet of torque, which sounds like a lot, but then you remember that this car weighs well over 6,000 pounds. So the 0 to 60 time is only 4.4 seconds on something like this. But for an apartment building, 4.4 seconds 0 to 60 isn't bad. Also, this has a tow rating of 8,200 pounds. So you could tow another Escalade V plus half of a conventional sports car. So yeah, you could definitely tow with this thing, which is important. So it's important to know right now that this engine is the same 6.2 liter supercharged V8 that is in the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing, but it has a larger supercharger on it to develop more power. It's pretty cool that General Motors woke up and thought, well, you know what? I think it's time that we give the American people something to really give them some hope. So let's put a big old supercharger on our big old V8 and our big old Escalade, and we're gonna throw that on the market, and people are really gonna want it. And I definitely want it, that's for sure. But I wanna drive it right now, so let's do that. But let's hear this car do a couple revs first. I think we can all agree this thing sounds insane. It is just ridiculous that a car like this was even dreamt up. And only General Motors would think to themselves, yes, that's the perfect car. I think Dodge and Jeep were the first to devise such a vehicle with the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk and the Dodge Durango Hellcat. Those actually came first as big SUVs with enormous V8 American patriotic power. But the Escalade V is the first one to take it and make it luxurious. With those other cars, yeah, you get the supercharged V8, but you also have to deal with Chrysler build quality and driving around in a Jeep, or worse, a Dodge Durango. So the Escalade V, I think, aims to do more. It's supposed to be a super crazy fast SUV that you can comfortably drive every day. but is also, it's so loud. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the fastest thing I've ever driven. It certainly isn't. It doesn't feel like it has insane amounts of power. I haven't really revved it out, but it's just loud. It just makes so much sound. It's ridiculous. It's enough to make every Tesla in a 50-mile radius cry its eyes out. That's how loud this car is. And it's from the factory. I mean, I'm driving this thing and I'm thinking, this has to have some sort of modification. It has to have a straight pipe or something, but no, this is how it came. Right from Cadillac's factory. They put the most free-flowing loud exhaust on it and thought, yep, that'll do. It's a loud car. All right, here we go, ready? It sounds like a race car. What? What is this car? Again, it's not that fast, to be honest, but it's still gonna get you pulled over because this thing is just the sound that it makes. I bet I woke up everybody in this neighborhood that was still asleep. I can't tell if there's lots of wind noise or tire noise or anything like that because everything is drowned out by this enormously loud V8. This car, it has to be banned in like 38 different countries. I mean, there's no way you could send this over to Sweden and try to sell it there, for instance. They'd be like, no, we don't want that. This car is just pure American excess, which is what makes it so special. American cars aren't to everybody's taste, especially something like this, especially big, tall, heavy Escalades. And then they go and put a freaking 2.6 liter or whatever supercharger on the thing and turn the sound up to 11. And that is the epitome of an American car. People driving Teslas might think, no, this is the quintessential American car because it's trailblazing the electric car industry. Get over yourself. Shut up. This is the most American thing I've ever driven in my entire life. There is nothing European or foreign or anything about this car. It definitely wasn't made with any parts from China. Everything about it just screams excess and vulgar and show off. I don't think there was any meeting developing this car where anyone ever mentioned the words silence or soft or understated, unless it was what they wanted to avoid, then yes. No electric car is ever going to replace that joy, ever. There's no electric car that can do that. Nothing comes close. With that, I'm gonna end that video there. Like, subscribe, do all the normal YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.